Hey friend, thanks for joining with me on this very first episode of the series Board Member Responsibilities. You know, I had a friend of mine probably a year or so ago talk to me about an incident he had in his church. He served a very good church as a board member and good pastor. And he had an incident come up, and I'll paint the story for you with fictitious names changed to protect the innocent. So my buddy's name is Jerry. And the pastor's name was Jake. So Pastor Jake calls Jerry into the office after a board meeting. And he references what happened in the board meeting where board member Bob, they were talking about, let's just say ABC ministry. And board member Bob goes sideways and starts really demonstrating a crummy attitude, a wrong spirit, and it really caught everybody off guard in the boardroom. And nothing was done about it. So as Pastor Jake is talking to Jerry afterwards, he's saying, so what's up with that? And Jerry's saying, well, I don't know. What do you want me to do? Well, Pastor Jake said, the whole point is you need to be calling that out, not waiting for me to do it. And that is very, very true. And that brings us to the point of discussion of what this video is about, and that is developing a self-policing board. It's right for board members to be accountable to each other. So it's not a term we use frequently in the church world, but let's use it for this video. What is self-policing? Self-policing is an act of individual board members holding each other accountable for actions in and out of the boardroom. So again, we had this illustration of Bob going sideways on ABC Ministries, demonstrating a lousy spirit. And what was supposed to happen? Jerry or other board members were supposed to call that out. So exactly how does that work? Because it's easy from the pastor to say, well, you guys just take care of it. But in reality, how does it work? How's Jerry approach Bob? Well, first of all, Jerry's first approach should have been right in the board meeting, in the moment. So you got to pay attention when you're in the board meeting. If something's going sideways, you got to call Bob out on it. Bob, man, this doesn't feel like a right spirit here. I mean, I don't know if I'm reading this wrong or what, but let's talk about this because, you know, we've been talking about this ABC ministry for, you know, the last 2 or 3 months, and now all of a sudden you're going sideways and the attitude doesn't feel right. You need to call Bob out on it right on the spot. Now, sometimes it'll happen that something will happen at a board meeting, and then it's not till afterwards that you think, oh man, that probably wasn't too good. So here's what does Jerry do? Jerry then should go to Pastor Jake and say, hey, I kind of sense that this went a little sideways in that discussion of ABC ministry. I mean, did I read that right? Yeah, you did. You read it right. So Bob's not flowing here. That's right. Bob's not flowing, Pastor Jake says. So Jerry says, okay, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go meet with Bob and see if I can iron this thing out. Good. Keep me posted. So Jerry arranges to meet with Bob in a Matthew 18 approach. He's not being accusatory, but he's going to meet with him one brother to another because something went wrong. As peers, one brother saw something go wrong at the board meeting with another. And normally in that first conversation, an initial conversation, that'll solve it. Bob will feel bad. So, oh man, I shouldn't have done that. You know, things are pressure at home, blah, blah, blah. So you whip it right there on the spot. Now, if he doesn't respond, then again, you do Matthew 18, you go get another board member, and you go together to meet with Bob. And generally that second meeting, that'll take care of things, and Bob will be good to go. If that doesn't work, again, Matthew 18, do exactly what Matthew 18 says to do. You take it to the entire board, and when you take it to the entire board, then you're going to talk this thing out, and you're going to make sure it's very clear to Bob that that kind of demonstration cannot happen at the board level. In order for the church to be unified and move forward, a church has to be able to self-police in this way. And honestly, by the time you get to the board level, half the time Bob isn't even aware of it. He's clueless. But sometimes he is. But the whole point is you've got to address it, and address it in a Matthew 18 manner. Okay, so we've defined what self-policing is the accountability of one board member to another. We've talked about how self-policing works, and in terms of a board member going to another board member in a Matthew 18 manner. And by the way, the pastor is kept abreast of this all along. So there's no going behind anybody's back. Everything's fully up and above board. So those are the first two things. The third thing is, why is self-policing right? Whose job, when something goes wrong like this, whose job do we normally think it is to fix Bob? You know the answer to that. Normally we think it's pastor's job. Pastor, you know, Bob went off on here, so I think you better fix him. And we always kick it upstairs to pastor. And that is a wrong approach. Don't do that. The board member should address it. And when you do that, you prevent silos from being built all over the place. Of individual board, you got 5 board members, 7 board members, you have all these silos around. What you want to do is you want to protect the pastor and prevent him from being the bad guy all the time. Now, Jerry is not going to be the bad guy with Bob because they're peers. But Jerry calls this out. And this is really, you come to a peer resolution, not a top-down. Top-down, you know, pastor can throw the hammer down, and then that almost never works. It's bad for everybody. But if board member can go to board member, healthy board member Jerry, going to generally healthy Bob, but in this case not so healthy, you actually can get resolution that is peer-based. Unhealthy attitudes, approaches to ministry, and so on can't go unchecked. That's why self-policing is so right to do. So, what's the takeaway here? First of all, no one is an island unto themselves. The board members are a collective group, and they check and balance each other. And when you do that, you set the stage for greater unity going forward. Overwhelmingly, board members flow seamlessly. Your board flows seamlessly. But when you have something that's ugly, a wrong spirit, a bad attitude, you've got to call it out. You can't let it just lay there. It doesn't go away by itself. Self-policing boards are unified. Your pastor will thrive and will be thrilled if you'll self-police. You'll get the highest level of accountability. Now, by the way, you need to have prayed ahead of time. And you know, throughout this series, this church board track, we've talked about the fact that you need to be praying ahead of time. Praying for each other. We've had this prayer card where board members, individual board members, pray for each other. And when Bob and Jerry have been praying for each other, then when they have the Matthew 18 conversation, it's way easier to get resolution. Why? Because 2 co-laborers together in ministry have been praying for each other. Board members in prayer make self-policing way easier. You've prayed. You've held yourself in submission to each other and to the pastor and pastor to you. And when you do that, you're going to see self-policing go way down the line, and you're going to have a greater sense of unity all the way through the board and the church. Hope you found this helpful. Apply self-policing, and you'll really be glad you did. Make it a great one today, and be blessed.